Well, this is a self-portrait. It was originally done 4 years ago, so it's a lot thinner and younger. And it's a self-portrait, kind of showing what the culture of a Chicano. We have two cultures in the back with the Mayan. The Mayan actually coming across and tattooing, an extra tattoo that I have of a corazon, and putting the glyphs, coming out of him, out over to a Nastic figure, and some paisleys to kind of represent, the kind of like all cultures merging together, and now being used a lot by a lot of the kids, a lot of the younger people in bandanas and a lot of that thing, and to me that's a symbol of all the unity in all of our cultures, you know. Some of it was like Indian Spanish designs, and we had the back we had some, in Spanish designs, and of course the hand reaching over is like sometimes I feel like that culture is tattooed upon us. It's like you it's not like we before we were born we chose to be Chicano, we chose to be Mexican, or we chose to be American. It's just like that's that's who we were born to. It's kind of like tattooed onto us, just like it's tattooed on our hearts.
That's nice. And I recognize the figure with the tattoo gun. Who is that?
It's just it's a Mayan god, and Cimi, it's a Mayan name. It's for the whole concept of death. It's not like you're gonna kill somebody or something. It's like kind of like the yin yang and stuff like that. It's a celebration of life, another step into life. They used to describe it a lot as with the corn. Like the corn will grow up to its maximum, and the seed will fall back on, and then it will continue. It's a continuous circle of life, and so that's kind of like what it's both to symbolize Cimi, which Cimi is Mayan, but it's an Aztec death god, and then the name Yolitzi is life, so it's kind of like the whole Cimi life yin yang kind of thing.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah.
So
okay.
and then Cimi is Mayan, and Yolitzi is Aztec or Nahuatl. So.
Huh. Very cool. And also, in honor of Serie 16, is that the 16 tattoo on his arm?
Yeah.
Is there any other story behind that?
No, I was just added that for the series.
The project. That's cool.
Yeah, I was born actually in Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua, across from El Paso. So I was just born there, and my parents took me across the border and grew up in El Paso. So I always say I grew up in Juarez, but never spent a day in my life there because it was just brought right across. I grew up in the Segundo Barrio, which is not even a mile away from the border or from the river. And now we can see the fence right there. It was just a pretty reminder of.
Is it kind of the background of Oscar Moya's print?
Yeah.
Isn't that like just the same?
But just imagine that fence crossing right across your downtown. So you have it's pretty, noticeable. It's a pretty good reminder of how our borders being militarized.
Oh wow, yeah.
But so yeah, I grew up right there in the Segundo Barrio, and I went to Bowie High School, studied with Gaspar Enriquez there, and kind of pushed me out. Inspired me to continue the art. When I studied with Gaspar, I was actually doing graffiti. So my background is a lot of graffiti and aerosol art. So that was kind of like where I connected with Gaspar, him doing airbrushing, and kind of like got me into the aerosol rather, just the airbrush rather than the can, and kind of like, and by that time it was a little bit easier to work with because, a can is a little bit different than an airbrush. From there, it's just like, I just got more, got going on art, and I saw what he was doing and all the stuff that he was involved, Juntos and all this other organizations that he was with. Like I went on to move to Dallas from El Paso, and I spent some time over there. I helped in the very beginnings of the Ice House Cultural Center there in Oak Cliff, which is a pretty Latino community. You have a lot of people from Salvador, Honduras, and Latin America, and of course Mexico. So we created a cultural center with a gallery that would show a lot of that. It's even before the Latino Cultural Center in Dallas, a big one. So it's like a little. Then I went back to Albuquerque. I was trying to be a full-time artist. Went back to Albuquerque. Moved in with my parents. Didn't really work. I ran out of money really soon. So I got the opportunity. I got offered a job back in El Paso, in the same community that I grew up in El Segundo, and I just took it and I went back and I went back in El Paso. So kind of went to first circle.
Yeah.
Like literally, actually.
That's cool. And you know, this is kind of how you ended up here through Gaspar.
Yeah, I had been trying to apply and all that, and then Gaspar, I think he made a recommendation that's been reminding me to apply and all that. So like now I think El Paso is in a really good place. The arts are really actually coming back. A lot of the guys that were a lot of the older guys, the veteranos, are actually coming back and trying to help the scene in El Paso, especially the Chicano, Mexican American artists. So, Gaspar being one of them, founder of Juntos, and now he's kind of like bringing back the organization and trying to bring in new blood into the organization and just push them out.
That's very cool. Studio. Have you ever made a serigraph before?
No, you know what? I never done a serigraph, and I don't do airbrushing or spray paint anymore. I haven't touched one of those like in 10 years.
Oh. Okay.
So I'm mostly doing pastel work now in large scale. And I'm primarily a muralist, so I do a lot of large scale work. And the original piece what we kind of based this one on is about 4 feet by 5 feet.
Oh wow.
It's pretty big, and all pastel on paper. And excuse me, so I'm doing a lot of pastel and a lot of acrylic. And yeah, and I think this is a really great experience because it's like getting artists. I don't know if it happens to all the artists, but like grabbing me, taking me out of my studio and taking me out of the pastel and acrylics into a whole new medium and trying to work it where it's like I know Brian the printer was like it's just not pastel. You can't fake the same way that you or shade the same way that you do with pastels or acrylics. So it's learning a whole new process and learning like I did the separations by hand. It's like a whole new thing, to like working the layers and all that. So I think that's like a great experience. You just like take somebody out of their comfort zone and basically teaching them something else, a new medium.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Cool. And that is kind of part of our mission. Is to teach artists serigraphy and to kind of keep the medium alive. Almost none of our artists are printmakers.
Yeah, and it just puts that seed into you. It's like, okay, now I gotta figure out. That I know how to do it. Now I gotta experiment more with it. There's a lot of things that after your print is done, you're like, okay, maybe I could have done this or I could have done that, and now you go back and try something. Yeah, and originally when I got this tattoo, I actually have it tattooed on me. It has 3 roses because I have 2 daughters, and it's kind of like a rose for each for my daughters and then one for my mom.
Oh, cool.
So it's like 3 most important women in my life, and and it was and then the tattoo started off as a kind of like with a tattoo artist, kind of like a joke, I guess, because my name's Jesus, Secret Heart, Jesus, and even you look at the pose. In a lot of my paintings, I use a lot of Renaissance poses. I love Caravaggio, so some of the paintings you can see the pose that I just got from the Caravaggio paintings, and of course this is kind of like a pose of the Sacred Heart, where he was like this. So I thought I would just spin it up, and then it just went into the whole other thing.
That's really cool. Yeah, like that. I guess I've called you Cimi the whole time you're here. I forget your name is Jesus, so yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to a couple of people yesterday and the day before about Austin, and they were asking me, have you been here, have you been there? I'm like, usually no, it's like like I said, sometimes you get into your comfort zone, and I know how to, maybe you're gonna go somewhere and do a piece, and I'll work for 8 hours, and I'll still have the energy to go out afterwards. I mean, this is just some intense work. I think it's like drawing and drawing and drawing, but at the end of the day I was like,
yeah,
I don't want to do anything else. But it's kind of like it's just a great experience just to come into a studio and work with another artist, because it's like a printer doing silk screening. It's just like a whole other art, knowing which color to lay next, and kind of knowing all that. It's just kind of like it's a great experience, I think, and the collaboration too. It's really hard sometimes to put 2 artists together and get like a finished product. But that's a great experience. I think that was like a great experience, and then just knowing the whole process on how to do burn the screens, clean the screen, all that. So.
Yeah.
I don't think I can think of. It's kind of early for me. I'm not a morning person.
Yeah. Well, now we know that.
Yeah.
The history books 100 years from now will be like, Jesus Cimi Alvarado. It's not a morning person.